Our next presenter loves her dog, boyfriend and plants in that order. She hates loud eating and can smell a camel before she can see it. Let's get to know Belle Giles.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you're all feeling refreshed after the morning break. I guess first up I want to thank Jimmy for this gig. Super grateful for the opportunity, so thank you. Secondly, just a warning, as you can tell I have a bit of a potty mouth and it seems to get worse when I'm nervous, so apologies in advance. Alright, so in May 2020 I went full-time as a freelance motion designer, and I remember when I took the plunge and officially quit my job, my boss's parting words were, finally, about time. And yeah, I guess to be fair, I got his point because I'd spent the past few years talking about and preparing for this freelance adventure I was going to go on. So when I finally did leave, I guess in his own way, he was happy for me. Okay, so fast forward to one morning in the middle of 2021. I was a year into my freelancing life at that point. I was set up in my own home studio and working in my PJs more often than not. And I get this random email from old mate James here inviting me to speak at Node, and God, I lost it. I lost the plot. I was like, what the fuck, really? And I remember when we met in person, I had to double check he hadn't mistaken me for someone else. I was like, James, mate, you sure? I've only been doing this for a year. Not sure what I could possibly say to the Node crowd. Come on, they're a fucking intimidating crowd, man. The industry elite. They're going to have high expectations. Are you sure you want me to be speaking to this lot? And he said, I wouldn't waste my time if I wasn't sure. So just share your story and you'll be fine. So fuck it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share my warts and all story with you all about trusting my gut to do what I really want, and also how freelancing was my way into the motion design industry. And I guess if it all goes badly, you can just blame James. So, as I said, my talk is about trusting your gut, but as you can tell, I'm so fucking nervous right now. My stomach is doing backflips and I feel like I could shit my pants. So I'll just play you my show reel and hopefully I'll calm down a bit. So my story, I guess I'm going to start all the way back right at the start. I'm a kid of the 80s and 90s, and my literal favourite thing to do as a kid was to just sit in front of the telly and watch cartoons all day and draw. And Sesame Street was like my religion, all hail Big Bird. And in school I was known as the kid that could draw, and to be honest, I wasn't that much good at anything else. I was also a really shy kid, and I found like it was my way to connect with people, like the kids and even the teachers in class. So it made me feel seen and gave me a bit of confidence. So I guess knowing that, I always knew I wanted to have a creative job of some kind. I also grew up in country South Australia in a little old town called Whyalla, and there wasn't that much in the way of a creative career. So as soon as I could, I was out of there and I was off to the big smoke. And by big smoke, I mean Adelaide. I studied graphic design there for 3 years at TAFE, and after that I had a few small design jobs, but ultimately ended up at the Advertiser, which is Adelaide's only newspaper, if you didn't know. I started off in the advertising department, designing ads for print and online, but quickly moved to the editorial department, and there I was working on news-related multimedia interactives and filming and editing videos, and just basically anything graphic-related for adelaidenow.com.au. But yeah, I guess after 5 years there, I decided I was ready for a change, and my dream at that point was to live in Paris. I wanted to hopefully marry a hot French boy, and I guess I realised my 6 weeks of French lessons weren't really going to get me that far, so I decided on London instead. And in London, I worked at Harrods as a UI designer for their digital magazine. And after that, I got a role as a digital designer at News UK, which owns the Times and the Sun newspapers. And the fun fact, the building I used to work at was the same one they use as the exterior for the IT crowd. So I always had the sound in my head walking into work. There I worked in the R&D department with a bunch of devs, and they came up with lots of crazy, weird ideas, and I would just basically design the prototypes that they came up with. That department quickly folded. So I moved to the marketing department where I worked on a bunch of digital marketing campaigns. And I had a great time working in the UK, but I was poor, earning £1, and I missed my family and friends, so I decided to move back home. And initially I was feeling pretty confident I was going to land a decent job because, now I've worked in London, I've worked for the Times and Harrods, they're big names, so people are going to be well impressed. But unfortunately they weren't really, because I didn't get that decent a job, I guess, and I won't go into detail there, but I guess as soon as I could, I packed up my things once again, and this time I headed to Melbourne. And here, luckily, things were much better. I got a job at a branding agency as an all-rounder, and that meant I worked on UI, UX, print and motion projects, and to be honest, it was an awesome agency to work at. Great people, got to take my dog to work, and to be honest, I learned more about design and strategy than I had at any other job at that stage. But I guess after 12-ish years of being an all-rounder, I realised I actually wanted to be good at something and not mediocre at everything. I guess I really wanted to feel that buzz and excitement for my work that I used to have, and I wanted to have a say on what I got to work on every day, and I guess ultimately I was just ready for a challenge. So I started to get all introspective and took a look back at my career, and when I looked back at the cringeworthy work that I can't believe I'm showing you right now, I guess I noticed a thread. The thread was, I guess, even though I was employed as a digital designer, I had always seemed to figure out a way to faff about in After Effects and convince people for me to work on motion projects. And even though my skills were, as you can see, questionable, I didn't really care because I really loved it, because I just got a buzz out of it. It was my thing. I just super loved it. So that is really what I'm talking about, that buzz in your guts and that excitement for what you're working on. I really wanted to get that back, and this buzz that I'm talking about, it's like a literal buzz in my belly, and it only seems to occur when I'm in the zone working away on something I really care about, or I'm learning something new. So while I'm coming to this realization that motion is giving me this buzz, I guess I decided that motion must be my thing, and holy shit, now I had a thing. That's pretty cool. I didn't realize I had one. So I guess there was really only one thing to do. I had to figure out how to be a motion designer, but I just had to deal with the one tiny issue, and that was I wasn't really that very good. There was a massive skills gap, and if I wanted to make a living as a motion designer, I had to get better, obviously. The gap that I'm talking about, I think this video by Ira Glass explains what the gap is really well, and it's a little snippet of a larger video, so if you haven't seen it before, I encourage you to seek it out.
nobody tells people who are beginners, and I really wish somebody had told this to me, is that all of us who do creative work, like, we get into it, and we get into it because we have good taste. But it's like there's a gap that for the first couple of years that you're making stuff, what you're making isn't so good, okay? It's not that great. It's trying to be good. It has ambition to be good, but it's not quite that good. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, your taste is still killer. And your taste is good enough that you can tell that what you're making is kind of a disappointment to you. You know what I mean? A lot of people never get past that phase. A lot of people at that point, they quit. And the thing I would just like say to you with all my heart is that most everybody I know who does interesting creative work, they went through a phase of years where they had really good taste, they could tell what they were making wasn't as good as they wanted it to be. They knew it felt short. It didn't have this special thing that we wanted it to have. And the thing I would say to you is everybody goes through that. And for you to go through it, if you're going through it right now, if you're just getting out of that phase, you got to know it's totally normal. And the most important possible thing you could do is do a lot of work. Do a huge volume of work.
So yeah, I guess he's basically saying do a lot of work and practice, and you should start to close that gap between your skills and your taste. And there's also this idea going around that it takes about 10,000 hours of intensive practice to achieve mastery of complex skills. And given that idea, I guess I felt like I was right at the start, like maybe 10 hours in. So I guess that's when my brain started to kick in, like I started anxiously questioning whether I was really capable of doing it. Like I wasn't a spring chicken anymore. I was going to have to spend a lot of time learning and practicing and finding the time to do that. So maybe it was safer just to keep going as I was, because life was pretty comfortable, to be honest. Like, was actually really worth the risk. But I knew in my gut that's not what I wanted to do. I was keen to at least give it a try. So I did decide I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it in my own way. I'll chat to my boss and see if I can go part-time and learn on my days off. And this approach seemed to calm my brain, there was like an agreement. So I got to it. And first things first, I needed a heck of a lot of advice from people in the industry. I just needed advice and feedback. And luckily for me, I had a connection to Alan from Yakfu. And he was kind enough to meet me and review my reel. And I remember saying to him after I showed him my reel, man, be honest, I can handle it. Do I need to start from scratch? Should I go back to uni? Give it to me straight. Just tell me what you think. And he was really nice, and he said, nah, I think you can actually learn a lot without going back to uni. I just think in your case, you probably just need to go back to basics. Learn and understand the fundamentals and practice, and then just go from there. So I took his advice and I went back to basics. I did a shitload of online tutorials and courses and just practiced as much as I could on my 2 days off of work. There were 2 specific courses that seemed to crack something open for me. The first one was a character animation bootcamp by School of Motion, which is After Effects based. And the second one is the classical animation course by MoGraph Mentor, which is a traditional cell frame-by-frame based one. And obviously each course focuses on super different animation styles. And I quickly discovered each of these methods has its pros and cons. So for example, in After Effects, it's usually relatively fast to animate in, because obviously there are a shitload of plugins and scripts and effects that can help speed things up for you. And personally, I felt like I could learn quite quickly in it because I had used it a bit in the past and I was familiar with it. But sometimes I feel like animating in After Effects can lack a bit of life. Controversial. It can also get overwhelming quite quickly because you really have to just manage your file well and keep track of all your keyframes and layers and comps and stuff. So you don't want to go down that rabbit hole you can't get out of. Where, to me, frame by frame, I feel is full of life, and I love the way it's easy to create extreme movements and expressions, and I like the control you have over every frame. And yeah, to be honest, it would be my preferred process if I had all the time and money in the world. But as I said, yeah, it's super labour intensive, so you have to love it to spend the time that it needs to get that great result. So just thinking about these pros and cons, I guess I knew my sweet spot would probably be somewhere in between both of these styles. A mixture of the two would probably suit my current skills, but I would also feel like I'm scratching that frame by frame itch that I had. All right, so now I'm going to go through a couple of personal projects and show you how I use both of these methods in one project. So obviously, it always starts out with an idea, and I sketch it out super rough. And once it's out of my head in front of me in sketch form, like more often than not, if I think it's a shitty idea, like that's just where it ends. But if I do still feel good about it, I then move on to the storyboarding phase. And this is where I really try to flesh out the story. And I'm not thinking about design at all at this stage. I'm just focusing on creating a clear, appealing story. After that, I then move on to the design phase and creating style frames, and this is obviously where I'm thinking about the look and visual appeal. I'm also starting to think about how I'm going to animate it at this phase. And for this project, I decided I wanted to do most of the animation in After Effects with a little bit of frame by frame as a guide. So I created these style frames in Illustrator as well, which meant I could import them as shape layers into After Effects, which obviously is a massive time saver. I also go into Adobe Animate and create an animatic, and here I flesh out the timing and complexity of the animation. And I think about ways I could cheat by cutting in closer or zooming out on shots that I know would be harder for me to animate. So obviously, if I'm doing that, I'm making sure I'm not losing any of the story, just hopefully just enhancing it. So yeah, I notice if I start off my animations in After Effects, I seem to get stifled by the restrictions of the software. And obviously, it's not a traditional frame-by-frame animations software. So if I want to flesh out a movement, it's easier for me to use Animate. And that way I can give love to each individual frame. I then go into After Effects and animate everything using shape layers and paths. I use the roughs I create in Animate as a guide where needed. And then finally, right at the end, I add any visual effects and sound effects. So yeah, the end result to me, I feel, has a little more life to it, and it seems to emulate what I like about frame-by-frame animation, but obviously the benefit is it takes way less time. And yeah, obviously on personal projects, I'm the creative director and I have full control of the project, so I can make big decisions and change my approach to whatever suits me. And to be honest, my process usually does change for every project, so it just depends on what I'm trying to achieve. So, for example, in this project, I wanted to get a perspective in the shot, like the cactus was actually moving towards the camera. So I used a lot more frame by frame to achieve this, and yeah, I even did a portion of the cleanup in Animate because it just seemed to be more efficient that way. You don't need to climb, it's all right. Yeah, I guess it's about being flexible enough to change your process based on what's expected of you. Yeah, if I'm working with an agency, they may expect a completely different process altogether, and you just have to be flexible enough to do what's right for the job and be prepared to change, and yeah, obviously what's right for the budget as well. So yeah, I know I dragged After Effects a little bit, but not as much as James here. So obviously there's plenty of ways you can give characters life in After Effects, and rigs are obviously a great way to do it. And After Effects just might be the most appropriate for the style of the illustration and your characters, like it was in this case. So yeah, I would have to say personal projects have probably been the best way for me to advance my skills. And I guess they give you a bit of freedom to fail and learn without the pressure of real jobs and deadlines. So I feel like they've also helped me to discover my own style, and that was pretty cool because I didn't realise I even had one. And posting these on social media have also allowed me to feel like I'm actually part of the design community too. And yeah, I've never really been a part of the community physically before, and I guess going freelance in the middle of a global pandemic probably didn't help things. But yeah, it's been a great way for me to have that connection as well. So while I was trying to figure out who I was motion-wise and learning and skilling up, I had to start thinking about how I was going to market myself as a freelancer. And this is where I could finally use my 10 plus years of experience in the design industry. Because yeah, I understood design and strategy and the process, I guess. So yeah, I put that knowledge into action to create my own brand. And yeah, I created a visual brand guide that had a logo, color palette, fonts, and pretty much all the basics, which I then applied to everything. So from my business cards, website, social profiles, presentations, everything. There's always some sort of brand element through my whole client journey. So other than creating all of this fun branding stuff, I took the time to think about what my niche could possibly be. And like I said before, I really wanted to get rid of that all-rounder title that I seem to have. So I sat down and I thought about it, and I asked myself, what is my current style and what type of style am I drawn to? What type of motion design do I currently create? And who needs my specific skill set, or who can I actually provide value to? So I put these three elements together and came up with this one-liner. I create bold 2D motion design and illustration for brand, marketing, and advertising. And yeah, it took forever to get right, but I really like it now because I think it's simple, direct, and to the point. And I really use this line a lot to explain to people what I do who have no idea. So yeah, and it's also the first thing that you read when you land on my website. And I also spent the time thinking about what a possible mission statement could be. And yeah, if you don't know what a mission statement is, not that, yeah, you probably would. But yes, a mission statement encapsulates you or your brand's purpose and vision. And it should hopefully motivate you and keep you aligned with your goals and values. So yeah, as you can see, I was pretty prepared. I had a brand I was proud of. I knew what my niche was. I had a mission I could always keep in the back of my mind. And I was learning and skilling up day by day. So finally, after a year and a bit, I quit my job and launched my freelance career. So yeah, I posted this little animation on LinkedIn and Instagram announcing my new career as Belle the Freelancer, and I instantly started reaching out and introducing myself to agencies and companies I really wanted to work with. And yeah, I met a shitload of new people over Google, Zoom, Skype, all of them. But I tried to meet as many people as I could in person, and that took a lot of time and legwork, but I knew it was like a really important step in establishing trust and making real connections with people, and yeah, just trying to, like I said, make that connection. And yeah, I guess like it pretty much worked because I was non-stop from then. Since then I've worked with agencies and companies, startups and not-for-profits to create a bunch of work from TVCs, exhibition and event graphics, illustration and animation toolkits, and countless social ads and explainers. And one of my first jobs was a project called Visible by Headspace Australia.
For young people, many of their biggest challenges go unseen. Through a collection of powerful creative expressions, we're shining a light on young people's mental health challenges. These are our stories, our worlds made visible.
So Visible is a creative collaboration between young Australians experiencing mental health challenges and artists in the community. And these partnerships have produced an insightful collection of creative expressions. So with that, I helped create all of the motion assets to help promote the project. So as you just saw, I created a 15-second TVC. I also created a bunch of social media assets along with quite a few behind-the-scene videos that are housed on the Visible website. And I think this job in particular is a perfect example of a project that has positive cultural and social impact. So yeah, since this project, I've been lucky enough to work on other jobs for companies like Beyond Blue, Smiling Mind and Climate Active. And these are companies I really enjoy working with and they 100% align with my values. So yeah, I make it all sound amazing, but honestly, there has been a shitload of sucky stuff. I don't want to make it sound like all sunshine and rainbows because it hasn't been. I've overworked myself and burnt out in the first year, so nice one. I underquoted on countless jobs. I've had great jobs that I've booked and have fallen through. Tax, that's the biggest swear word of the day. Yeah, and I've even worked with clients that I knew in my gut weren't right, but took the job anyway, and inevitably it didn't work out very well. But I think the shittiest part has been when I haven't valued my own time and skills, and I actually think most of the issues that I just mentioned are probably a symptom of this. And to be honest, I find it really challenging because I'm a natural people pleaser and I just want to make people happy at the expense of myself. So I guess it's something that I'm really aware of and it's something I want to work on moving forward. So there we have it. Final takeaways. I guess if you want to be a motion designer or whatever gives you that buzz in your guts, just fucking do it. Take a risk. Why not? I guess you just have to figure out how to do it in your own way or whatever feels right for you and whatever works for you. If you're freelancing, know what your niche is because I think it's your superpower. See yourself not just as a freelancer, but as a brand and a business. Figure out how you can provide value to others without forgetting to value your own time and skills. So yeah, that was a shitload of stuff I just covered. But yeah, I created this page on my website that just has a bunch of links to courses and resources and communities and other bits and pieces that have helped me on my freelance journey so far. So feel free to check it out if you feel so inclined. And yeah, thanks again for listening. Thanks again, James, for inviting me to speak. Please come and say hi at the after party. I've made some little enamel pins of Buzzy the Guts. So yeah, if you want one, come and say hi, because that's the only way you're going to get one. So yeah, as a leaving message though, I just want to share this little animation I made a while ago that was featured on Buck You Back. That was a highlight for me, to be fair. Yeah, it feels like it could be a timely PSA for tonight.